I have a question. In my path of truth, I keep self-mutilating myself because every time I think of moving forward, I feel like I'm gonna call it that I'm gonna call it an avatar that wants to come out of me to move forward towards the truth. It doesn't feel right, so I keep going back to the same previous default that I have set up, and I don't know how to get out of this loop. And it's self-mutilation after self-mutilation after self-mutilation of my persona because
What does self-mutilation mean as you describe it?
like everything, like the details of whenever I try to continue on my path, it's like, okay, there is no, I don't know if it's depression at this point that I'm getting at, or if it just, it doesn't feel like truth. And because it doesn't feel like truth, I don't pursue it further. And I'm stuck in that loop.
The mind is a very complex thing. And if one is seeking truth, then they will seek the truth of their predicament. They won't try to get out of it. They won't try to seek relief. That isn't a bad thing or a good thing. But truth is the recognition of where one is. That is truth in itself, as opposed to trying to seek to run away from it. But facing it isn't truth either. It is the pursuit of truth about the situation that one is in. That is practical. And truth is nothing if not practical.
Hello. If one has embarked upon truth for quite some time and has the financial means to be more, I guess, removed from society, wouldn't that be a logical path to take, given that society is untruth?
If that's what they truly feel in their bones, it wouldn't be a prescriptive thing that's the right thing to do or a good thing to do. Really, it is a self-generated and self-motivated act to do that, which results from one's deep down recognition that that is the case, as opposed to any type of compulsion or pressure that is put on that person by someone else in any shape or fashion. So long as it's 100% arising truly from you, then there's no insincerity in it.
Thank you.
Is there a way for me to know fully, without any doubt, that I am on a path of truth?
One who is desperately desirous to know that means that they desperately desire to know truth. If one really wants to know if they're on the path to truth, then the very fact that they really want to know demonstrates that there's a deep desire there. So that question sort of answers itself.
Hello. I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between what I believe his name is Matt Arnold, the individual who had the solo climb without a rope? What's the difference between what he set out to achieve? Obviously, it was a great feat, but what's the difference between that and any old experience chase?
The purity with which he pursued the craft.
Hi, Siddha. I hope I'm audible. So my question is, in the pursuit of truth, there are other things like, you want to get independent, and then there's the society prioritizes you to get independent first. So is getting independent part of, in the pursuit of truth?
Well, every facet of life has a truth. Truth is the only practical thing there is. So every part of one's life, every topic one pursues, every discipline one pursues, every facet of his life has certain truths, and the rest are false.
I'm just trying, like, if I embrace my weaknesses, is that like, hey, I'm not wasting my life as I just embraced everything that I have?
There's no rules and there's no definitions. If you think you're wasting it or you don't think you're wasting it, that's up to you. It really is a sincere examination and a self-expressed honesty as to whether one is. And even if you're honest with yourself, you don't get points for being honest either. So either, a given individual will be horrified by the fact that he's wasting his life, and therefore he will move towards truth. That, like I said, will be 1 in 100 million, and the rest there's no choice, there's no chance. And so there's no me telling you that what you just said, no, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, you're wasting your life, you need to do something else. Whatever, if you feel like doing that and that's what you're moved to do, that's what you're moved to do. I mean, there's no rules.
Hello, Siddha. I was going to ask you about someone, like you said, you have certain clients that are high level and they're very serious. They make a lot of money. Surely these are people that are doing the absolute most to manage their time and utilize the most of their time. So would you also preach the same message to them, that they have wasted their life, even if they're in the top 1% of their industry and they're considered sharks or workhorses in that industry? Would you still give the same message to them, like they've wasted their entire life?
Well, success isn't everything. So the wasting someone at least who becomes a success has utilized X% of their talent, as opposed to someone else who basically goes to bars every night and drinks alcohol and socializes with his beer drinking friends. I mean, that's just a waste. That's just a waste of oxygen. That isn't even a human being. He's just an insect. So someone who actually uses his talent to some degree has wasted obviously less of his life. But I would say yes, the majority, almost everyone wastes their life because they do not look deeply into the ways in which they are conditioned. They do not look into the direction of truth, because the pull and the attraction towards prescription and doing and acting and actionable things and spirituality and self-help, have an individual who completely turn his back on everything, not as in a prescriptive way, not because they think they should or because they think it's good, but because they genuinely see the emptiness of everything, even their own opinions of things. That's just a rare human. Rare humans are rare. So it's the rarest human who not only becomes a success, and success isn't even required, but not only one who becomes a success, but one who actually moves in the direction of conquering life.
Hey, Siddha. So, do we have any control over these things? Do these things happen to us, or can we do something?
I don't know what you mean by these things.
Finding truth.
I don't know what you mean by control.
In the sense, can we do things, like in the sense work towards it?
No, that's a very colloquial and societal concept, to work towards something. No, there's no homework you can do. You cannot work towards it, but you can have an exposure to it. But even exposing yourself to it, if you think that I'm going to now expose myself and then look over every corner, look behind your shoulder every 5 minutes to see if it has come, that isn't sincere. The individual who comes to me is the individual who has no choice.
Hi, Kapil. I realized that I've wasted my life and I am wasting my life. I want to stop doing this. I wouldn't ask you how, but I feel that I sometimes feel that I have a speak about, because your words hit me, it resonates with me deeply. So there must be some DNA between, but I'm still wasting my life. I sometimes get inspired, but it just eventually does not like really last. So is there a refuse? Is there a way that we can not stop, that we can stop wasting our life?
There's no way. It is when the desire to stop wasting it becomes or arises to a fever pitch. You know, one has to understand the depth of his conditioning. One has to understand the depths of their longings for societal things without immediately jumping towards the idea of leaving the world or leaving society and moving to a cave. This requires like everything. It requires a sincerity, a seriousness, and a maturity. The maturity lies in understanding. And understanding has nothing to do with blaming oneself or saying that one is wrong or bad and therefore one is wasting their life. It has nothing to do with outrage. It has everything to do with understanding why it is and how that's so. That mature individual who seeks to truly understand is the one who has a chance.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. I don't have pursuits for, I'm not really pursuing happiness, and I don't see any purpose in life. But I see myself naturally being drawn to things that keep my attention, that are stimulating, pleasure chasing. And so I see that my life is being wasted, and there's nothing that I can do about that. But the reason that I'm letting myself just waste my life is because at some level that's okay with me, right? That it's fine with me that I'm wasting my life. But I may not feel that way in 30 years or 50 years when I'm close to my deathbed. Is there any further deeper truth than that, or is that just naturally how?
Well, honestly, what you have expressed is sincerity. What you have expressed is honesty. Everything that you have just expressed demonstrate an insight into your own condition and where you are. And as ironic as it may seem, if there is going to be truth that arises within you, or for the desire to seek it, it is going to arise precisely from such plain honesty.
Thanks for having me up. I would say I've arrived at places in my craft that have been unimaginable for me in my past, but I continue to devote myself to my art. But I noticed that time is something that prevents me from reaching my ultimate arrival and a place where I see myself. Is it true that time is something that limits arrival? In my experience, I've noticed that things have been extremely perfect, but it requires patience, but I'm not being patient. It is just a patience, but that time is something that deeply bothers me as
well,
the days go
what
by.
What limits arrival is the realization of the truths that need to be realized in order to arrive at that arrival. And if those are not realized, it doesn't matter how long you wait.
Hi, thanks for having me on stage. My question is, once you have reached a level of introspection that allows you to realize that you have undergone societal programming that's led you to the point of wasting your life, is arriving at this point something that should elicit joy, sadness within you, or is knowing that you've truly arrived at this point, knowing that there is no way that you should feel, but rather that getting to that point is just the experience in and of itself? I hope that makes sense.
So this is a very mature question, and quite honestly, by the cadence of your speech, with the very beginning of your sentence, I could sense the maturity and a sincerity in your question. So I will answer it. There's no predefined way that one should or should not feel. And quite honestly, even if one did feel joy, that joy isn't the reason to do it. That becomes its own chase. It really is rather that if one finds himself repeatedly returning to the examining of the ways in which they have wasted their life and the ways in which they have been societally programmed, the very fact that they keep returning to that demonstrates, for whatever reason, an inner desire to truly want to look into that, which demonstrates further a desire to perhaps move towards truth.
Hi, Kapil. I've felt the desperation that you've described when I've realized that everything in my life was false. And I think I know, you know what I'm talking about. I think you wrote about it with The Other World, where everything was based on lies. And I felt that desperation for freedom, but it then disappeared. And then it came back and then it disappeared. And I guess it feels as if I end up defaulting back toward the desire for pleasure. So I think is the understanding that I'm missing, that is it starting to go from intellectual to visceral, and it's not airtight visceral? Is that the reason why the desperation doesn't stay? Because
the desire for society and prescriptions and the chases is still very strong. Therefore, it will always take precedent. It's just a matter of time before that tide rushes back in after a few moments.